Hey everyone, this is the Hot Revenge community. Ready to listen to a new hot story? Then get comfortable and we're starting. My name is Juniper, but everyone calls me June. I'm 28 years old. Most folks think a quiet house means everything is fine, but that's far from the truth. There's a specific type of silence that feels awful. It's hollow and oppressive. This kind of emptiness echoes inside the tall, old homes in Philadelphia's Society Hill. It bounces off the polished antique furniture and the portraits of generations past. It presses down on your chest until you feel an urge to scream, yet you know no one would even notice. This is the silence I grew up breathing. Have you ever felt like you simply faded into the background of your own family? Tell me in the comments where you are listening from. I like knowing who is sharing this journey with me. My family's system doesn't measure happiness or personal achievements. They only value lineage. We live in Society Hill, a world defined by cobblestone streets and old money, where your surname is essentially your entire life history. My father, Sterling, is a retired financier. He doesn't hold a job, he just manages the inherited estate. My mother, Vivienne, runs the city's Historical Preservation Society. Her entire mission is making the past matter more than anything happening now. Then there's my sister, Aspen. She is 3 years my junior, works as an art curator, and is officially the family's prized child. She knows how to navigate fundraising galas and how to be visible among the right crowd. She fits perfectly. I do not. I am June, the introverted biotech researcher, the bookish daughter. In our household, if an activity can't be displayed in a gallery or formally announced at a charity event, it holds no reality. My career, my drive, the time I spend in a laboratory, all of it was simply viewed as my unproductive little hobby. You must understand the nature of this cruelty. It wasn't one major awful incident. It was a subtle, daily routine. It's the constant trap of accepted harshness. It consists of 1,000 small dismissals that eventually form who you are. For instance, my mother would spend an entire dinner praising Aspen for finding a new emerging artist, then turn to me and ask, "And June, are you still over there in that lab?" The unspoken judgment was always clear. Why can't you be more successful like your sister? My role as the family disappointment was established long ago. I rarely tried to challenge it. My silence became expected. It was my accepted contribution. For many years, I just offered it up willingly. People frequently ask, "Why did you stay so long? Why did you endure it?" They don't grasp the invisible restraints of the victim. You don't remain because you lack strength. You stay because you've determined that keeping quiet is the best way to survive. When you are raised in an environment where all your beliefs are considered difficult and every passion you hold is obscure, you learn to stop talking. You realize that pushing back only invites more unpleasantness. You learn to embrace the quiet life. This isn't weakness. It is the learned response of someone trapped inside a prison without visible bars. I kept my head down, committed to my scientific research, and paid my own expenses. I convinced myself that their approval meant nothing. I believed that by minimizing my presence, I could avoid their criticism. I was incorrect. They didn't just want me to be small. They wanted me eliminated, and they were just waiting for the ideal moment to demonstrate it publicly. The setting for their ideal moment was my sister Aspen's engagement celebration. The party took place at the Rittenhouse Hotel, in a ballroom that smelled distinctly of lilies and inherited wealth. Crystal light fixtures hung low from the ceiling, and the volume of the polite, subdued laughter was almost louder than the string ensemble performing in the corner. I was required to attend, naturally. My presence was necessary for the official family photo. I positioned myself near the room's boundary, holding a glass of champagne I hadn't sipped, focusing on staying unnoticed. I observed my father, Sterling, effortlessly charming a group of potential investors while my mother, Vivienne, glided through the space, her pearls shining, the perfect society host. Aspen was the undisputed focal point of the event. She looked spectacular in a light green gown, her hand resting on her fiancé's arm, her sizable diamond catching the light beautifully. She was everything the family had trained her to be, the golden child. I was merely hopping to get through the next hour when my mother spotted me. "Juniper, sweetheart, there you are." She moved toward me, her smile strained, and gripped my arm firmly. "Come here, come on. Your father and I have prepared a small something for you." She pulled me directly toward the room's center, right beside the massive ice sculpture. My father and Aspen joined us. A wave of apprehension washed over me. This felt entirely staged. I realized I was being pulled into their performance. "What is it?" I asked them. "Well," my mother announced, raising her voice just enough for nearby guests to turn their attention. "We know your graduation is scheduled for next week, and we truly felt awful that we haven't properly recognized your efforts." Aspen, right on cue, lifted her phone and pointed the lens at my face. "I need to record this," she stated, her voice saturated with insincere sweetness. "It's a huge milestone." My father stepped forward, holding a framed document that was quite elegant. It looked exactly like a diploma, matted in deep navy silk. "Your mother and I had this specially made for you," he said. "A little graduation token." I accepted it from him. My hands remained steady. I looked down at the ornate writing etched onto heavy paper. At the very top, in gold script, it declared, "Certificate of Disappointment." My breathing hitched slightly. I read the following sentences, each one a flawlessly phrased put-down, summarizing my entire life as they saw it. It cited me for pursuing an unprofitable and obscure hobby instead of securing a respectable career, for failing to acquire a socially appropriate partner, thereby neglecting your obligations to the family name, for a general absence of social graces and an unwillingness to comply with family expectations. The document included everything. It was signed at the bottom by both Sterling and Vivienne. I heard a muffled, small laugh escape Aspen. The guests standing closest were watching, their expressions a mix of confusion and slight amusement. They assumed this was a joke, a bizarre, cruel family tradition of roasting. But I understood my family completely. This was not humor. This was a mandatory lesson. This was them publicly forcing me back into my assigned position. This was their final, perfect act of shamming me. I stared at the framed paper for a long time. I sensed the heat coming from my sister's phone and the pressure of everyone watching in the ballroom. Everyone there was expecting a spectacle. They hoped I would start crying. They wanted me to break down completely. I looked at my father, whose face showed polite concern. I looked at my mother. Her smile was incredibly bright, almost aggressive. I looked at my sister, whose eyes shone with victory behind the camera. But I felt absolutely zero emotion. Just a deep, cold sense of understanding. They believed this moment was my complete downfall. They did not grasp that it was actually my freedom. I gently set the framed certificate back down onto the white tablecloth. "Thank you," I stated. My voice was low, yet it easily broke the quiet atmosphere. My sister's triumphant smile instantly disappeared. My mother tilted her head, clearly bewildered. "This explains everything," I added. I gave them no further details. It was unnecessary. I straightened the fabric of my dress, grabbed my small clutch bag, and walked away. My steps made no sound on the heavy carpet as I left the table area. I passed the frozen statue, the musicians, and the many guests who were starring. I could feel their eyes fixed on my back, generating an uncomfortable, bewildered atmosphere. I heard my mother shout my name, June, her voice suddenly sharp and panicked, a tone I had never heard before. I heard my sister whisper, "Hold on, where is she headed?" I kept moving. I never glanced behind me. I pushed open the large wooden doors leading out of the ballroom and walked into the cooler night air of the Rittenhouse Hotel lobby. I did not rush. I maintained a calm pace. A cab was already waiting at the curb. I quickly got into the back seat and told the driver my street address, watching the hotel's elaborate entrance disappear through the car window as we drove off. And then, after 28 years, I realized I could finally take a proper breath. My relatives were still back inside the ballroom, puzzled because I hadn't broken down. They interpreted my silent departure as giving up. They completely failed to see it as a celebration. I took out my cell phone, but not to check for messages from them. I wanted to see an email I received just 2 days prior. I had read that email repeatedly until the words were permanently fixed in my mind. The subject line was straightforward. "Acquisition, congratulations." My so-called useless hobby, my scientific lab research, which I called the Genome Weaver Project, was much more than just a passion. It was a patented, groundbreaking method for managing a rare inherited disease. And that hobby of mine had just been purchased by Synergy Genetics, which is one of the world's leading biopharmaceutical corporations. My family thought they were presenting me with proof of my lack of success. They had zero concept that I attended that gathering carrying a complete, signed business contract worth $11.2 million. They believed they were completely removing me from the family history. They failed to notice that I had just created an entirely new legacy for myself. I did not wait for them to approach me. I found them assembled in the lobby area, tight and furious near the entrance. My father spoke first, his tone a low, dangerous sound. "What exactly did you accomplish, June? You brought shame upon us. You made the whole family look ridiculous." "I don't understand," I replied, my voice perfectly calm. "I simply graduated." "Don't act stupid," my sister snapped, her face pale with intense anger. "You planned this. You knew what would happen. You wanted to destroy my engagement party. And now you have destroyed your own graduation." My mother tried desperately to regain control of the situation. She forced a smile, though her eyes were frantic. "June, dear, you should have informed us. We had no clue. We can fix this situation. We will release an announcement. We will explain this was all a lovely surprise." "Fix what, Mother?" I asked. "The fact that everyone saw you on live news looking terrified that I wasn't a failure." "You set us up," my father accused. I looked directly at him, then at my mother, then at my sister. "You actually think my career, my whole existence has been focused on you?" I nearly laughed out loud. "You never asked once," I said, the words quiet and precise. "Not once during all the years I spent in that laboratory did you ask what my unproductive little hobby actually was. You simply put it on a piece of paper, framed it, and laughed." I took a steadying breath. "My genome weaver project is a revolutionary treatment. It is a cure, actually." My mother looked confused, annoyed by the specific scientific details. "A cure for what? Why does that even matter?" "It is a cure," I repeated, making sure every word sank in, "for the rare genetic ailment that the Historical Preservation Society was created to commemorate. The one our great-great-grandmother died from. The foundation of your entire legacy." The color drained completely from my mother's face. My father stared at me, his mouth slightly open. My sister just looked blankly ahead. "The work you called a disappointment wasn't just worth $11.2 million, I said softly. "It provided the solution. The cure for the specific disease your entire preservation society is named after. You didn't just reject me. You rejected your own purpose." They finally became silent. This was not the empty, dismissive quiet I had been raised in. It was the heavy, suffocating silence of finality. The silence of people who just realized they had deliberately destroyed their own foundation. I gave them one last look. "I have a mandatory meeting with the board at Synergy Genetics," I informed them. "Excuse me." I turned and walked away. I did not look back again. The consequences were complete, though not instant. The story spread quickly, far past local media coverage. The certificate I was given became the central element of the news coverage, always appearing next to the $11.2 million headline. The true devastating factor was the irony. When the public discovered that the Preservation Society, run by my mother, honored disease victims, and that her daughter had created the cure while being mocked for it, their public standing ended. Donors for the society immediately withdrew their money, disgusted by the sheer hypocrisy. My mother's life work vanished. The organization stopped all activities within a single week. My father's reputation among the old money Philadelphia circles was ruined. He wasn't just the man who was unkind to his daughter. He was viewed as a man too foolish to recognize value within his own household. He managed his assets but lacked any vision. He became a poor investment prospect. As for my sister, her wedding was canceled indefinitely. Her fiancé's family, who valued status and history above everything else, could not possibly associate themselves with the vulgarity and poor judgment of the scandal. They had constructed their entire existence on an image. And with one graduation announcement, I showed everyone what they truly were, merely an empty frame. My new executive office at Synergy Genetics looks out over the harbor. It's entirely glass and steel and full of light. It is a quiet space, but not the oppressive silence of my father's house. This is the silence of intense concentration, the silence of work that genuinely matters. I kept that certificate of disappointment. It stays in a desk drawer in my new workspace, underneath a stack of clinical trial forms. I sometimes look at it. It is not a prize. It is not an injury. It is simply a record of payment. The fee I paid to finally walk out of a room I should never have entered. My family's world crumbled. Their reputations, built on the weak concept of legacy, shattered when the facts became known. The historical society is gone. My father's social standing is only a memory. My sister, I have no knowledge of what happened to her. I haven't heard from any of them. I do not need to. I am using the $11.2 million to build something tangible. I have started a new foundation. It is not for expensive plaques or charity dinners, but one that actually funds the science to make the cure available to everyone who needs it. This tale is not about gaining revenge. It is about understanding personal value, and that is why I want to speak directly to you to finish this. This is a note for anyone who always feels marginalized, for the person who feels invisible at every family dinner, to the outlier, the quiet one, the overly sensitive person, to everyone who has ever been convinced that their passion is just a hobby and their self-worth must be proven. You are not invisible. You are simply waiting. For years, I thought my value was something my family possessed. I thought if I was just successful enough, quiet enough, or good enough, they would eventually decide to grant it to me. The day they handed me that certificate, I finally understood they never had the power to give it. My worth was never theirs to decide. I am sharing this because there is a deep, unshakable sense of peace that occurs when you stop trying to beg for a spot at their table, and instead, you start building your own. You build it with your professional work, with your personal passion, with the quiet successes that no one else needs to acknowledge. You do not need their permission to be complete. My name is June. I am a scientist. I am a director. And for the very first time in my life, I am finally completely at peace.